Let's face it, Japan is getting way too crowded, with many local areas such as Kyoto suffering from this thing called over-tourism. But maybe we've been looking at this all wrong. Actually, there are still many places in Japan that are almost void of tourists and let you explore an entirely different kind of Japan. I have went and created the perfect itinerary for you that travels to regions like Kanto, Tōhoku, Hokkaido, and Chubu to get away from the crowds and straight into the mountains. This route can be done either by starting from Tokyo or Nagoya, but to make things simple, I will assume that we are starting from Tokyo. We will also be heavily utilizing the JR Southeast Hokkaido Rail Pass, which can even be purchased by residents, such as myself, to its fullest extent. So if you're interested in that, keep on watching, because we saved a lot of money by using it. You can find links to the complete itinerary down below, and I have even made a custom Google Maps with even more detailed travel ideas. But without further ado, let's get to traveling! Actually, before we start, here are some things to keep in mind. I did this route with my boyfriend in November 2025, and the experience can obviously change a lot depending on the season. Remember to check things like opening hours beforehand and which routes are available when you travel. Some trains and buses might not run at certain times due to maintenance, the season, day of the week, or even natural disasters. This route is also mostly geared towards those with at least somewhat of an outdoorsy interest and those who like temples. Although, of course, you can modify this route to suit your own interests. I calculated that we walked during our 3-week trips more than 18,000 steps per day, a lot of which were going up or down a mountain. So if you follow our suggestions, please remember to pack good shoes and some blister plasters. However, most of the actual mountains are not open during this season, so don't worry, it's not gonna be that extreme. One more tip. We travel with backpacks instead of bulky luggages. But if you do not own a backpack or don't want to travel with a backpack, there are also other options. You can use these luggage carrier services that take your stuff from one city to the next. And I hear that's what the locals like to use as well. So, our route starts from Tokyo, but I will not waste your time by telling you how great Tokyo is, because you can find multiple travel itineraries all over the web if you look for them. Besides, our goal is to now get away from Tokyo and onto our first stop, Nikko, a paradise for temple lovers such as myself. There are two main ways to get to Nikko. You can either take the Tobu Railway Express or do what we did and go with the slow-paced local trains and enjoy the countryside vibes. At least on a public Monday when we traveled, the trains were nearly empty and we got to sit comfortably for the whole ride. We make our first stop at Tobu Nikko Station in Nikko City. We decided to stay for 2 nights and spend one day exploring the shopping street, the temples, trying local food such as yuba. For us vegetarians, Japan can be a bit difficult at times, so having the local dish made from tofu really left a good impression. The second day, we had a lovely time just wandering the various nature paths towards temples and waterfalls, and here I think we were really lucky with the season. We still got to see beautiful autumn colors, but despite many warning signs, luckily there were no bees or leeches. So take care if you travel in summer, I guess. Next up is a city called Yamagata. Yamagata is super far away, so this means we will start using our 6-day-long JR Southeast Hokkaido Rail Pass here, as we will start riding with the more expensive bullet trains. This regional pass costs around 30,000 yen, but we still ended up saving over 40,000 yen by buying it. So if you're following along, consider buying this pass in advance. From Tobu Nikko, we first need to take the train to Utsunomiya, and from there we could hop on to the aptly named Yamagata Shinkansen. Just remember, there are no unreserved seats from this point on, unlike in many other Shinkansen, so please reserve yours either on the web or at the station. Just note that the ticket booths are usually outside of the gates. Alternatively, you could also start using your pass a day later and use that day to head to Aizu Wakamatsu. I really wanted to see the little mountain path that goes there, but unfortunately that was not covered by the pass and we had to skip it. So please do go travel that in my stead and let me know what I missed. Wow, why do we want to stop in Yamagata at all? Well, first of all, it's next to the famous Yamagata temple, also called the Temple of 1,000 Steps. The view from the top was beautiful, but honestly I was a bit disappointed by how easy the climb was. I even saw someone coming down with high heels, so take that as you will. The temple closes quite early, around 4 p.m.-ish, I guess, so remember to be on time if this is something that interests you. Otherwise, I'll be brutally honest, Yamagata city itself didn't seem to have that much to offer, and all the cool sites you'd have to travel to, and we did not have the time. Which is why we spent the night at karaoke, having the time of our lives, so not bad. Morioka, on the other hand, was wonderful. Yes, I have no doubt why Morioka City was placed second in the New York Times article 52 places to go to in 2023. Just the vibes, architecture, the flowing river, and this one even had some of the best sights so far, like the rock-splitting cherry tree. Spectacular! We also had a blast taking part in a Wanko Soba challenge, something really regional, something really amazing that you can only do here. The goal is to eat as much soba as you can, and if you clear like 100 cups, you get a prize. I highly recommend this fun and unique experience. Just remember to book it in advance because it is quite popular. But how do we get to Morioka from Yamagata? Again, we have two options. Either take the train going past Yamadera to get to Sendai, from which you can easily hop on a bullet train, or do the insane thing that we did, just because I insisted to see Akita Prefecture and the O line, mostly just because the name reminded me of my favorite dog, Silverfang. To do this 4-hour sightseeing route, take the Shinkansen from Yamagata to Shinjo Station. From there, you will need to travel with tiny one-man trains all the way to Omagari, where the Akita Shinkansen will finally take you to Morioka. Honestly, I think looking at the beautiful countryside was well worth it, even if Google Maps refused to give this as an option. By the way, I kept running into this problem with Google Maps that even with the cheapest possible route selected, it still kept offering me Shinkansen and other fast crap. So basically you need to divide your trip into multiple parts, just guessing which stations might be on the way, and that's how you get it to give you good information. Enough about Tōhoku, let's briefly talk about Hokkaido. Hopping at a Shinkansen at Morioka, we travel all the way to Shin Hakodate, where we changed the Hokuto Express train. We spent 3 nights in Hokkaido, stopping at Lake Tōya, Noboribetsu, and Sapporo. Out of these, I would most highly recommend Noboribetsu, as the Jikokudani Valley and the hiking around the area were truly a highlight, along with the great onsens. Otherwise, the season right before snow maybe did not make Hokkaido all that special, so maybe plan your season a little bit better for this one. Especially Lake Tōya was cold and desolate, and definitely would have needed more planning to make the trip more enjoyable. Also, keep in mind that none of the local bus rides in Hokkaido are included in your JR pass, so be prepared with enough cash to pay for your rides. Another mentionable highlight from our trip was the Ainu Museum Upopoi in Shiraoi. I am personally very interested in isolated languages and indigenous groups in general, so this was right up my alley. Also, the pie we had there was spectacular, really distinct from any of the other sweets we've had here, and reminded me of the sweet treats back home. Next up is our most difficult day yet. Our 6-day JR pass is about to expire, and we need to rush all the way from Noboribetsu to Nagano city, amounting to a total of around plus 10 hours of traveling. We hop on a train, again change the Shin Hakodate ride all the way to Omiya near Tokyo, and change there to another Shinkansen going to Nagano. Unfortunately, this pass does not go that far, so we had to change trains at Sakudaira and take the little train to Komoro, and from Komoro we had to buy a ticket to get to Nagano. But this way allowed us to use the pass to its ultimate limit and save a pretty penny. Although, I admit, this is maybe not the fun way to spend a day, so I made an alternative itinerary for those who are interested. This one actually goes to Akita City, and the last day you spend in Morioka, so this one makes the ride to Nagano a bit more tolerable. But please do check the links if you're interested. While there are many great sites around Nagano, we headed straight to Matsumoto City the next morning. Matsumoto City is famous for having one of the country's most beautiful castles, which luckily at this time of the year was really empty. Another site that should not be missed is the Utsukushigahara Open Air Museum, but it is not open in the winter. So unfortunately, we did not get to visit this time. The next morning, we took a bus headed towards Hirayu Onsen in Gifu Prefecture. I happen to live in Gifu and think it is amazing, so obviously I was full of excitement at this point. We're somehow super blessed at this time as well, as the season's first snowstorm blew right over us when we arrived. Although the roads to getting there were really narrow and even a bit scary, but the drivers seemed to be really experienced and the sights made it all worth it. Getting to lay in onsens while snow was falling was honestly one of the best things I've experienced here. We also did a short hike to a nearby waterfall, of course wearing a bell since there were bear warnings everywhere. Next day, we headed to the Takayama city nearby. Its traditional alleys and unique shopping opportunities are always great fun. We also visited the Hiei Shrine, famous for appearing in Kimi no Na wa, Your Name. For more sights from the movie, you'd need to stop in Hida, but we unfortunately decided to skip them. We also skipped Shirakawa, a city famous for thatched roof buildings, and went to see them a bit closer by in the Hida no Sato Folk Village Museum. This visit was wonderful and even more so because of the snow. After a night in Takayama, it is time to start heading towards Gifu City. However, we had a small stop first in Gero City yet again to try a new onsen. Gero is a city really famous for these, and you'll even be greeted with various hand and foot baths all around the city that can be used for free. From there, we continue the lovely small train ride taking us to Mino-Ota and finally to Gifu Station. Right after exiting the station, you'll be greeted by our Lord and Savior Oda Nobunaga, as this town has some shared history with the dude. Some must-dos in the city include visiting Inaba Jinja, Japan-China Friendship Garden, Gifu Port, and Gifu Castle. Gifu Castle is situated on top of a hill or a mountain and offers various hiking paths to it. We did the toughest and fastest one and returned down the ropeway. Both fabulous experiences. Speaking of hiking, we also did an overnight trip to the Magome-Tsumago Trail. It is wildly popular among foreign tourists, and for a good reason. It is the most well-preserved part of the Nakasendo Trail, an old road that was used to travel between Kyoto and Tokyo. We started by buying a ticket from Gifu Station Clerk to Nagisa Station. From Nagisa, we hiked the whole day to reach our hostel in the beautiful Magome-Tsumago. The next day, instead of taking a bus back down, we hiked all the way to Nakatsugawa Station. One thing that surprised me that on Gifu's side, the Nakasendo Trail was colored wonderfully, so it was super easy to follow all the way to the station. Leaving Gifu on the way to Nagoya, I would highly recommend visiting Inuyama. It again offers a castle, some traditional shopping opportunities, and nearby is a wonderful quirky theme park called Little World that showcases traditional houses all around the world. In Nagoya proper, you might be interested in sites such as Osu Kannon, Osu Shopping Street, Atsuda Jingu Shrine, or the Ghibli Park. But if you decide to skip Nagoya and spend a little more time in Gifu, I don't blame you, because that is what we did too. Now we are almost nearing the end of our trip. However, we wanted to end our mountainy getaway with the ultimate sight, Mount Fuji. If you still have some money left at this point, you could take a Shinkansen straight to Mishima Station. But if you wish to save some more, do what we did and hop on the super crowded local trains instead. You need to swap trains a few times, but in the end you will reach Mishima Station just the same. If you were lucky, maybe you got to see a glimpse of Mount Fuji from the train. But the bus ride from Mishima to Fujikawaguchiko, our next stop, should offer even more stunning sights. Staying at Fujikawaguchiko, you can either enjoy some more hiking, lakeside activities, or visit the Fuji-Q amusement park. Our plan originally was to go see some of the caves, but they were closed during this season that we were in, So this meant we needed to pivot and we went to do the Fuji-Q instead. Luckily, it was off-season there and the place was not terribly crowded. We did still come to the park 30 minutes before it opened just to beat the queues even more, because they did reach the 2-hour waiting time by midday. On the way back to Tokyo, consider stopping one more time and hiking Mount Takao. It was absolutely packed during autumn leaf season, so taking the cable cars, etc. was totally out of the question for us. And I'd say the most popular hiking path was also way too crowded for my liking. But on the way down, we found a lovely smaller trail, so those do exist in the area, you just have to search for them a little. I think Mount Takao might have been the toughest climb that we did during this trip, as most of the actual tall mountains were closed for winter, so I guess that was fun. I guess that was something. And the view from the top was amazing. There's even a chance to see Mount Fuji for one last time if you're lucky with the clouds. From Mount Takao, it's only an hour's ride back to Tokyo where we started. So by now, I think you must be pretty excited to do this journey for real, right? But before that, I still have some last remarks before you go back to your bags. Obviously, this way of traveling can be a little bit risky because you might, for example, get sick and thus unable to travel to your next destination. So it is extra important to have good insurance to keep you safe. Moving around a lot and changing cities can also cause stress to some travelers. So I would not maybe recommend this to complete novice travelers unless you know that you can handle it. The language barrier, I think, can be a small issue in the countryside. I speak Japanese, but I almost always had a feeling we'd be absolutely fine even without it. There were a lot of signs in English and people seemed to want to speak to me in English for most of the time. But I say almost because the local trains in Nagano could have been a bit confusing without language skills. They do not yet accept Suica cards, being the only region during the whole trip that did not do so. And some of the announcements regarding using the tickets were just in Japanese. On the other hand, Hokkaido and Magome-Tsumago were surprisingly English friendly, even more so than a big town like Nagoya. Well, I hope this video has assisted you in planning your next trip to Japan. Let me know if I missed some great sites or if you have any other tips. But for now, bye and see you in Japan.